Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Aquarius Rising Africa. And it's our monthly Tuesday show with the lovely Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones. And we're going to be talking about the green children of Woolpit, amongst other things. Very interesting topic for sure. Um, yeah, I've been looking into this myself, I have to say. Um, Very interesting observations. And Jessica and I were just having a little bit of a chat off air, but we'll get to that. And in the meantime, welcome everybody. Wonderful to see all the wenches with wrenches and all everybody in the chat. Lovely to see you, Lisa D, Girl in her Gong, also Joanne, Chiro. Okay, thank you, everybody. And yeah, so without any further ado, let me bring on the lady of the moment. Hello, Jessica. How are you?
Hi, Shanti. I am excellent. Excellent. It's a fine morning over here in Georgia, USA.
Well,
It's wonderful. How have you been?
I'm great, but I'm a little bit jealous because I see you all summery and you can see I'm getting all wintry. Yeah? So, yeah, you guys are stealing our sun for a while, kidnapping our sun. But it's okay.
Yes.
You can have it for a few months. But I don't think you guys get too cold down there where you are, right?
Yeah. No. Well, when it we have extremes now. It's kind of extreme. It's either really hot or really cold. But in Georgia, we're known for having very humid, hot weather. They call it Hot Atlanta for a reason because it's very muggy and hot, and we just have a lot of humidity, which can be kind of gross. Okay, so I love this weather. We had storms yesterday, and we actually had tornadoes that ripped
Yeah.
through just south of here where I live yesterday, but the weather's perfect today, other than the pollen. We have pollen everywhere today.
So those with hay fever, stay at home.
Could
Don't
be.
move. Yeah, wonderful. Oh, I want to just say we're actually streaming live onto Rumble as well today. So it's always nice. We're doing Facebook as well as YouTube and a Rumble. So Rumble is always a good channel because it's not really as censored as YouTube. So we can always back up on there. But it's really good to see everybody. And Jessica, yes, I'm super excited about our chat, our show today. Um, it's becoming so clear more and more as we go along, right? Uh, about so much, I want to say paranormal activity, but it's not really, I mean, I guess it is in a way, right? Paranormal, the cryptid activity. So, and obviously, listen to me, obviously now with the kids as well. I mean, we're hearing about the black-eyed kids, we're hearing about those, the little people, the lost civilizations. We're hearing a lot about that. And of course, now well, this was, I mean, I know from yonks ago, like 1100s, I think, these two green kids. But anyway, over to you.
Oh yeah. Well, this is an interesting case, and for people who are not familiar, I am the cryptid huntress. I go out and I chase monsters for fun in the woods late at night in the dark. Okay, that's what I
I
do.
love
As a
it.
matter of
I
fact,
love
yeah.
it.
As a matter of fact, I was out last weekend. I spoke at the Georgia Bigfoot conference. I was their keynote speaker this year, and I took some of the guys from my team and we actually took some sisters who showed up at that conference. We all went bigfooting on a Saturday night, and we ended up finding Bigfoot tracks and all sorts of stuff out in the woods.
Wow.
So what people consider to be monsters, they're real. Okay, they're real, and I chase them for fun, and I do find them occasionally.
Just
But
because you can.
yeah, so I have a very interesting, fun life. Okay, it's very fun, very dangerous, very adventurous. But I also, one of my favorite hobbies that I was taught while doing my cryptid research was remote viewing. And so I did, someone had tasked me with this blind target, which means that I did not know what this was. Okay, before I did it, and I was given a set of coordinates. It turned out to be the green children of Woolpit, which is very interesting because where do green kids come from? I've heard of green eggs and ham. They must eat that for breakfast. Okay, but this happened back in the 1100s during the 12th century in England. There were two children that wandered into a field, and they didn't speak English. They didn't speak any native tongue from around the area, and their skin was tinted green. It was perplexing to everyone who was there, but they obviously didn't fit in. They weren't from there. Their clothing was not of any kind of material that was known in that area. The fabric was not familiar to anyone around there, and the way they were dressed was different. In their language, they spoke a language, but no one could understand it. And so some people thought, well, maybe they're just foreigners. Okay, maybe they're just kids of immigrants that came here, and we just don't know where they're from. And but they looked like they were scared. They couldn't communicate, and they were taken in by a local farmer, and or a landowner. I guess he was a landowner and a farmer, and brought them in, and they could not eat the food that everyone else was eating around there, no regional food. And they went weeks without eating, and they were getting malnourished. And finally, someone came in with some fresh bean stalks and offered those bean stalks to the children, and the children ate the beans. They were able to eat these beans. Apparently, they had wandered in from a cave, okay, but they couldn't say that because they didn't know how to communicate with these people. But they later on down the way, the little girl did learn how to speak English as she got older and got acclimated to the culture there. She started speaking English and was able to communicate where they came from and what happened to them. And all the while, after, I'm going to say a few months after being there, the little boy ended up dying because he was malnourished. They say that eventually they were able to start eating bread in addition to the beans, but it wasn't enough sustenance to keep the little boy alive. And he basically withered away, which is very sad. But the young lady grew up and ended up marrying someone in the area, and had a long life. Okay. But she was able to tell her story as she learned the language there, and said that she and her brother had, I guess they were herding cows. From what I researched, it was cows. They were herding their father's flock, they said, and they found a cave entrance. And they said that where she came from actually did not have a sun, that it was twilight all day, every day. It was always twilight, and there was no sun. And it was very different than up here where we live, where they came out of the cave, she said. But they wandered into a cave. They got very adventurous and wandered down a cave, and they got lost, and they were going through the cave for a long time. And they finally she said they were hearing ringing, bells ringing, and that caught their attention. And so they went towards the bells. And when they came out, there was the entrance of a cave, or, they were able to go out of a cave, and there were bells, and they ended up in that pasture where they were found. And the people who found them startled them. They said they couldn't see because the sun was so bright. They were not used to seeing sun. And the sun blinded them, and they were not able to get back to find their way home because they had been blinded. And then they were kind of, I don't want to say pounced on by the locals, but they were found there, and they just couldn't find their way back in because they couldn't see. And so that's what happened. But they came from a land that's called St. Martin's Land, St. Martin's Land, which is kind of interesting because I have a friend from St. Martin, but that's in an island. Okay. So it's an island. But they were from St. Martin's Land. And to me, it sounded like an Inner Earth type of a deal, maybe Inner Earth story. But I was tasked with the Green Children of Woolpit as a target. Now, Woolpit is the area where they were found. The people out there would dig trenches for the wolves to fall in. It was like traps for the wolves. And so Woolpit actually was wolf pit. Okay. Wolf pit, but it's Woolpit today, or by the locals, right. Local dialect. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Some stories actually say that the children were in the wolf pit when they were found. Other stories say they were just in the pasture or huddled near a tree. Yeah. So
I'm going to go with huddled near a tree.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. You did. When we were talking before the show, you had honed in on it, and that might make sense. Now, the remote viewing data is very interesting for this. because this is a blind target. And I got to say, one of the first things I wrote down when I went into the session was portal. Portal. Okay. Now,
Yep.
there's a whole lot of different explanations for where these children came from. And a lot of people believe that potentially they were extraterrestrial. They came from another planet because they were like little green men, right? The things that we've heard historically through fairy tales and through pop culture even are little green men, like ETs, right? Anytime we think of something green, like ogres, for instance, like Shrek. Okay, one of my favorite cartoons. I love Shrek, and I love ogres too because I'm the Cryptid Huntress. Okay, so I love all those things. But ogres and the Green Man. Also, there's also something
Right.
called the Green Man, and also the Green Giant, like ho 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 Green Giant. That's on. He likes veggies. Yeah, he's kind of like the Green Man, I guess. But something and something else that I made a connection to would be like the beanstalks and the children eating the beanstalks and then thinking about Jack and the Beanstalk. Okay, and that deals with the giant as well. So it kind of connects to a lot of the fairy tales, in my opinion, throughout the years that we know.
Wow, it definitely makes sense, and especially when you're talking about the green people. But I would imagine that when people, when these civilizations are underground, they don't have natural sunlight. So I'm sure the skin would probably be somehow light deficient as well. And obviously from the natural vitamin D that the sun gives us, right? But I think when you're living underground like that, obviously your skin has to adapt as you come out, And that just reminds me, who is it saying that it's not the strongest of the species that will survive, but those who can best withstand change. So for me, when we look at the little boy and the little girl, and he passed away, he withered away because none of the food was giving him sustenance. It would seem to me that from whatever environment they were coming out of, he obviously, and that's why I put Ursa's comment on there, because it's like the molecular structure of the body has to change. And it would seem to me like his wasn't able to, yet hers was. And then she went on to thrive, actually, marrying someone in the community, and no doubt, well, as you say, learn to speak the language. I'm sure her skin probably became fleshy, whatever.
Eventually.
Yes, after time. So it was like a transition. You know what I got when I was looking at this, right? I kind of like said, okay, what do I feel from here? I definitely feel like they came in from beneath the surfaces, like the earth. But it was through a portal, but a tree. I feel like they came through a tree. So it's telling me that they are from the realm of Fae. So they are definitely from the nature spirits, and then would have arrived here definitely through a portal of sorts, because we know that that's how the cryptids generally travel anyway, is through portals. But what I feel as well is that it actually wasn't really an accident. I don't believe that there are ever really accidents like this in the universe. Honestly, I believe that would have been, sorry, my neighbor's dog is getting a little bit excited here. So to me, that was not an accident. It was something that meant to actually happen when you look at the greatest scheme of things, right? Because what my intuition told me as well, in that where those kids were, there's lots of what we would call magic, like, okay, flying around or whatever it is that they do there. But they don't like it when the beings kind of have their own minds as well. So they want to expand and explore more and kind of get up to mischief, like the naughty kids, right? Because they're always doing naughty things. But we know the naughty kids are not really naughty. They really, I mean, I was always one of those kids getting up to the supposed mischief. It was lots of fun. And it's because of that that I understand the things the way I do today. So for me, it was like almost given permission by the parents to let the kids say, okay, now you go and spread your wings and you explore.
Mm-hmm.
So it was almost like that was their way of getting out from where they were into the light, right? And actually adapting accordingly. And remember, we never ever lose connection. So as she was evolving on planet Earth, through her energy, through her feet, through her consciousness, she was able to send energy back to where she came from, of her evolved state, and therefore pass it on to her people so that more can come through and experience what we experience on Earth, but having a different level of consciousness, which enables all of us to grow and expand. That's the way I see that. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Yeah. Wow. No, I resonate with that, actually. I think that that's a really interesting explanation. And I think it 100% could be that happened. Of course, to the children, the way that the little girl or the woman at this point, she was a young lady by the time she was able to communicate. They got lost, but maybe, to me, it reminded me of the Superman saga. Okay, like Superman, how I believe there was something going on his planet, and his parents brought him down to Earth and put him into the care of that family on the farm, right?
Wow.
On the farm. It's almost the same story, kind of, as Superman, a little bit, because maybe the children were entrusted in the care of those people there at Woolpit on purpose to be able to cultivate them, into to who they were going to become. Yeah. And
I think we've got to give credit to the fact that we are. Sorry, are we having a lag here? Sorry, Jessica, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry, carry on.
No, it's okay. Yeah, no, I was just saying that maybe they were put into the care of that the farmer there, to have them to cultivate their strength and their power, and to be farm fed, as we call it down here in the South, farm fed, and to have them become the best versions of themselves here on Earth, so that they could send that energy back to their people. I think that's a great explanation.
And then, because you see, that's alchemy. That's spiritual alchemy right there. Because when we understand that it's about transcending and evolving, we have to give credit to the fact that we are not the only species trying to evolve, right? Lots of other species are trying to evolve. So we don't know where they've been or what they've come from. To us, we've had this ridiculous notion that we've been force-fed that we're the only creatures that exist in the entire universe. I mean, what a lot of hogwash, as we're seeing now. And I want to say almost also, this is more transformation rather than transmutation. I would say this is transformation. They would have experienced a lot of transmutation in their realm, that they got bored of whatever they were able to experience there. Now they wanted to transform to the next realm, and they took a chance. And one of them made it, and another one didn't. And how many, and you know what, we don't know since 1100, how many fairy kids, right, have then come through since then. I mean, they might have been the first ones, right? But let's think about if that has happened, then how many more have come through, maybe even in spirit or whatever, and are just part of the community now. We're seeing so much of, in recent years, the understanding that we're not alone, that there are other dimensional beings living with us, and we might all look like we all got the same meat suit, but we don't really. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Well, that's right. We don't know how many people have come up here and to become hybridized. There's a lot
Mm.
of different beings walking among us for sure. And I have suspicions if I'm an alien sometimes. Okay. So, but anyways, yeah, it's we have a family that was pretty well known out of Kentucky here in the United States that had blue skin. Okay. Now, of course,
Wow.
it's contributed to having too much iron or copper in the water, I think is what people say. But it's just
Colloidal
interesting.
silver.
Blue.
Colloidal
Yeah.
silver.
Completely blue skin, looking like the Smurf family kind of. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, if it happens, it's just all about your whatever minerals you have in your body, if you got too many or too little. And it is interesting that little girl, her skin, as she got acclimated to the regional diet, her skin became more like us regular humans. Okay, us normal humans, normal. But
Wow.
yeah,
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If you think about that, is a miracle right there.
yeah, it
It's a
is.
miracle. And I mean, if the story hadn't been that she herself lived and actually told the story herself, I would have maybe thought it was some fairy tale. But definitely, when she actually there, that's the transformation right in
Mhm.
front of your eyes. But she will never lose the essence of where she came from. And that is her kryptonite, right? So wherever the different realms people come from, everyone has their unique gifts. And I say from God because I refuse to believe that all of these things are evil. For sure, some of them are, but for
Mhm.
me, we can never ever judge it like that. So I don't see something like that as evil at all. I think God has created so many different realms and so many different beings and so many different creatures that we would be dumb to think we're the only ones that exist. And it's beautiful to see
Yeah.
everything coming together right now.
And for people to assume that all creatures are demonic or bad. I actually, doing the Bigfoot field research and speaking about it publicly now, I get a lot of people who, we see red eye shine and things like that out in the field occasionally, and some people are just convinced that it's 100% demonic. Everything's demonic, and I don't agree with that. I don't think it's all demonic just because they have red eyes and stuff like that. I don't think not all people are evil. Not all creatures are evil. Okay, they're not.
I
And
fully agree.
I've not experienced the demonic side of Bigfoot, all the time. I haven't at all actually. But a lot of people believe that's what it is. And it's all about perception, and it's all about how people see the world, I guess. I see it
Exactly.
different.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think, when you yourself have been to seen a lot of the stuff that you have, it's easy then to have a very different perception
Hmm.
because there's so much more. It kind of opens your third eye, doesn't it? In a
Oh
major
yeah.
way
Oh yeah.
to see,
Big
to
time.
view the world very differently.
Hmm. Yes, big time. And that's why from the very beginning, the head of my research team, he had us out in some of the most Bigfoot densely populated areas, places of very high strangeness. And we were in some really wild predicaments right off the bat. And I feel like he did that kind of on purpose to get us acclimated to how wild and crazy things really are in this world. And our reality is not what we've been taught. And so we got a good dose of it right away. And then immediately went into learning our psychic skills, like with the remote viewing, and started tapping into the psychic side, the telepathy side, and just the energetic side of the cryptid world, and in our human experience as well. I had to kind of relearn what it means to be human at that point, and so I think that that's important for a person who is going to be out in the woods chasing Bigfoots and things that will eat you. Okay, I think it's important that we do pay attention to that, because you have to keep your head on straight when you experience something that's not supposed to exist.
Yeah.
and much less sleep around them, and put yourself in a hammock in the middle of the woods 5 miles from your vehicle and sleep there for a whole weekend. You gotta have your head on straight, and it's not for everybody. And that's why I'm so empathetic towards people also who may not believe in Bigfoot, and not believe in things that are not just, right here in our 3-dimensional reality, living in the matrix inside these little boxes that we've been taught to live in. I have a lot of empathy for people like that, because I understand that they haven't had the experiences that I have, and so I do everything I do with a lot of grace. Okay, a lot of grace, and I try to put a little humor into it, because it's out there for people who have never experienced the things that I have.
No, absolutely. And I think and that's what I was saying earlier, what we're seeing more and more is that these things are coming to light now, which is amazing. And when it comes to light, it's not so scary. And when people like yourselves are going there, telling us what it's about, we kind of gain an understanding of what we can expect, right? So it takes the fear factor away.
Yes.
Takes the fear factor away, because as we always say, fear is the worst enemy. Fear is your worst enemy. Really, it is.
It is.
And when we then understand that not everything is out to get us, not everything is here to hurt or harm us, we don't have to kill, because I think humans we wait to kill happy. We have a kill culture. If we're scared of a spider, we'll just kill it. If we don't like bugs, we'll just kill them. If we're scared of a snake, we're just going to kill it, right? So we need to also move away from that. And it's so true, faith over fear. I always say that if you don't have faith over fear, you're probably going to be on the wrong end of whatever it is.
Yes. That's I always end all of my shows that I do on my YouTube channel. I always say, do not live in fear. Okay, don't, because I talk about some dark stuff, and we cover a lot of topics of attacks by people who have passed away because of being attacked by some kind of unidentified animals and things like that. And we're shedding light on the things that are out there. But if little old me can go out in the woods and chase monsters, and I'm okay. Okay, I'm still here. Y'all should not be scared, okay? But just be aware. Be aware.
Yeah.
I'm not even scared of the Bigfoots and all the things like even the green children of Woolpit. That's something that I bet some of the people in that village had to have been kind of scared of them. I would think, being potentially not knowing where they were from, and them having a different language, and nobody could understand them, and there's no way they had the weird clothes on. I mean, imagine how odd that would have been back in the medieval times to encounter children like that were actually green.
Speaking of clothing, sorry, we were talking about I think we mentioned the fabric. Did you mention the fabric on there, or am I thinking of the Teasel princess? The fabric that they were wearing was not recognizable.
Correct.
As well.
Yeah. On both. The Teasel princess, her fabric was something that no one had ever seen before. They didn't know where it came from. It potentially was futuristic. Okay. And with the children, it was the same. Very, very similar. That's a wonderful connection you made there, because that's right. The clothing was not of any kind of, the fabric was nothing that they had in the area. No one had seen it before.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they probably would have concocted their own fabrics wherever they were living down there, with whatever was available to them, right? They might not have the sun, they might have twilight, but they also adapt and would have, I guess, plants and food and whatever it is. I would imagine, I wonder if animals and things live there too with them. What do they eat?
They do. They said that they were herding their father's flock.
The flock.
The flock. Now, to me, a flock would be like sheep. But I was reading, when I was doing my research, I was reading that they were herding cattle. Okay, but a flock to me would be sheep or something like that. So I'm thinking of little Bo Peep. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, cattle. I immediately think cattle. I don't know why I think
Cattle.
cattle.
Yeah, they said that. I
Yeah.
think it was cattle. They were herding their father's flock, so they do have animals down there. And it made me wonder, like, well, if they're herding their cattle, could they not eat the cattle? Could they not eat the cows from where they ended up? You know, in England at Woolpit, could they not have eaten that meat? Or maybe they were not carnivorous. I don't know. They said that they could only eat beans, and they went to switch to bread eventually, and that's all they could eat. And then,
Maybe they use the cattle for milk or something.
mhm.
Because that's usually why you're having cattle, right? Is either meat or milk. And if they were vegetarian, or then they might have had it for, who knows? Gosh, that's quite interesting, because I'm wondering if it was even cattle. You know, do we even know that it was cattle? But and the boy died. Yeah, no, yeah, the guy.
Yeah, you know, I was actually just thinking when I was talking about that, about the bacteria and the viruses that are up here too. If they're not from here, imagine it would be very easy for that little boy to have gotten something like I'm going to say like the plague. I mean, this is 1100s, gotten some kind of a virus or some kind of flu that they were not, you know, adjusted to, that they had never been exposed
Right.
to. I'm sure it was their lives were very delicate while they first were exposed to the
Like, yeah,
Woolpit living.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, so completely different. You can imagine being a little fairy person, right? And you're probably not eating meat. I would imagine. I don't know, what do fairies eat? Does anyone know what a fairy
Fairy
eats?
dust. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Dennis, what
Fairy
does a
dust.
fairy eat?
They eat beans. They obviously eat beans, magic beans.
Dennis, help us out.
Musical
What does a
fruit.
fairy eat?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
But
Yeah.
it's interesting as well, because, you know, and I think it was also in one of Dennis's shows that we were talking, that when the average human would go through a portal, right? Because some of them do, you know. I mean, I know when I was interviewing Caleb Jade on these things, he would talk about them moving in and out of these different portals and dimensions as well. But it can't be very good on a molecular structure for the human body in our current state, right? I mean, these guys we know now are involved in mostly high-level magic, okay? So they can do that, but it must take its toll on the body. And I'm sure, Dennis, or was it you, Jessica? I'm sorry, I forget now. Someone was saying that they know people have died that have gone through those portals.
My
They come out,
teammates.
right, then it was, wow.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
what is the condition that they die from? Is it just suddenly, or something weird or bizarre, like a car accident?
Radiation. I believe it was radiation, but now it was not diagnosed like, oh, they went through the portal and that's why. Okay. But our team, they as well as our team suspected that it had something to do with it. And you know, we're out there doing all this research, and we're not just out there chasing Bigfoot. Okay, we're out there doing a whole lot of
Yeah.
experiencing a lot of other stuff, including portals. And my team has documented what we believe to be a portal. And two of my teammates were sent over to go check it out, and they walked up to it and they disappeared. Their heat signatures disappeared on the thermals camera, and the environment changed. They ended up, they knew that something was a little bit off, so they backed out of where they were standing. They didn't know they had gone into a portal. They didn't know, and so they backed out when they realized the stars had disappeared and radio contact got a little wiggy, and the vegetation on the ground had changed, and they were in an open field. It shouldn't have been that different. And so when they came out, their heat signatures reappeared, and we take measurements out there of you know, just the environment. We have Geiger meters and Geiger counters, which measure radiation, and usually whenever we have any kind of paranormal activity that goes down, even a UFO sighting, ETs in the environment, Bigfoot, whatever, and voices, you know, like disembodied voices, or just something off. We do take measurements with those Geiger meters, and there's usually a spike of radiation when something happens, and we believe that we know there was a little spike of radiation. It may not even have been that big, But once you're out there and doing the things that we do, and we're out there so much, every little spike of radiation will eventually build up. And it can be detrimental to your health. It's not good. And one of the gentlemen got a heart problem, and the other got very aggressive form of cancer. And
that would make sense to me, because I think cancer is probably the way that it'll manifest in the body with all that radiation, for sure.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So it's, we had to really rethink as to whether we wanted to keep moving forward as a team, and to keep doing research like we do and where we go. And so we've decided to keep it moving and keep going with it, of course. But now we're very careful about doing things like that. I am not volunteering to walk in a portal. I'm just not. Okay. I'm a mom. I still got a little kid. So I'm not planning to do that. But yeah, there's a lot of adventurous people that will do it. Okay. And
well, hey, give me this portal. I'm definitely taking that portal, sister.
You're doing the portal?
Let me tell you, I'm taking the portal, and you're gonna remote view me if I get lost somewhere.
I know where it's at. I can meet you there. Okay. Okay. I'll grab your hand as you come out.
For sure, buddy.
Yeah, but throughout the years, I've talked a lot about portals. Portals are a big thing, and also the missing people and all these parks and the national parks here in the U.S.
Yes.
An epidemic of missing people, and so that kind of connected some dots with well, maybe that's where a lot of these missing people are going, is walking into unsuspectingly walking into portals that they can't see, and then by the time they turn around, it's too late, and the portal has shut. And maybe it's just like these children of the green children of Woolpit. They couldn't really see because the sun was so bright, but maybe when they turned around, the portal had shut and they couldn't get back through.
Exactly.
So maybe it wasn't just their eyes; it was the door had shut and they couldn't get back.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, but either way, even if that was an accident, I don't think it's a universal accident. That's what I'm saying. I think the fact that she adapted to this, call it climate, is telling me something. It's telling me something. The fact that she would have been ready. They would have thought they were ready, like, come, let's do it. Somewhere spiritually, they would have said, come, let's do it.
Oh my gosh. She's like, I volunteer as tribute. Right.
You have to be spiritually ready for portals. And I agree with that, because if we just look at the resurrection of Christ as well, right? It was not the physical body, but in my opinion, the molecular structure of the body when you rise from the dead, so to speak. So it's like when we awaken as well, our bodies change molecular structure, and then we are able to travel more easily through these things. And then I think that's part of evolution. I think that's part of consciousness expansion. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I think the ancients were fully aware of that, and so there's so many stargates, right, all over the world, especially in the Middle East. There's stargates, and sometimes we'll see carvings and pictures of, was it like the Anunnaki holding the little purses, okay, or the Sumerians? Yes. I don't. And some people believe those are portal keys. Basically, you had to have one of those little purses, a little man purse, to get through a portal and stuff. Like maybe something that changed your vibrational frequency a bit, and so I think that is just some ancient knowledge that has been hidden from us for a long time. And I think that there are a lot of natural portals all over the place. And I think that could be what the team stumbled upon that night, or it stumbled upon us. Okay, about on the team, and so but nonetheless, there are portals. There are portals, and I can say that yes, my team has experienced one firsthand, and we do have it on video. And so yeah,
and it makes a lot of sense, because there's at the portals and the gateways, spiritual gateways, whatever people call them, and I know they are somewhat slightly different. There's always a lot of activity there, right, with the ley lines. So that's where the ley lines are crossing. So there's a lot of sort of supernatural activity that goes on there. And that's why obviously there are going to be a lot of these cryptids and things that are emerging through these things. And I think it makes it's interesting because I think some of them are just open. Like some of them are just there. I don't know, like
yes, they
rifts
are.
or tears
Yeah.
in the atmosphere, so to speak, right? And I think that's where a lot of mischief happens. But mischief also happens, I think, between the doorways, the portals, right? And I think you do. And I think it's so true what you say, because what I feel is that depending on what dimension it is you're entering, there are different dimensional portals and doorways. Call them doorways. Some of them, it's a frequency thing. You've just got to have the right frequency and it'll open. And others, I think definitely there would be certain keys, maybe symbols like runes and stuff like that. You've got to have certain words and abracadabras or whatever it might be, right, to get in there. I think it's different, yeah. Very magical. Everything is very magical. It's like going to different cities, I guess, different houses of different doorways of getting in and using different ways of doing so.
Yeah, well, they show us things like that on, Monsters Inc. is an interesting one. Okay, like that cartoon. It's not only about showing how, there are people who use the fear of children to power up their town. Okay, but also, they're using their doorways. They're to go into. They got their factory, and then they open up the doorway, and they're in the children's bedrooms. Okay, it's like their little portal, their dimensional doorway. So, anyways. I was thinking about another thing, because you were talking about the molecular structure of our cells has to break down, and there's declassified documents. I believe it's like a 3-letter agency released documents on, and it might have been part of Project Stargate or Project Jedi, where the guys were doing the remote viewing like I do, and they were learning how to walk through walls. Okay, there's actually I believe it's a patent or something for that. There's some sort of a patent, or there's instructions that I don't know if they got declassified or someone just dug them up. But instructions on how to walk through walls. So
that does not surprise me at all. Yeah, for sure. And that would be part of. I think it's part of the magic, that would be part of the magic, which I would imagine is illusion magic as well, because there's the different types of magic. So it would definitely be part of that. And I remember, that also brings to mind on one of my interviews with Jessie, she spoke about one of her friends in the system who was a werewolf, right? And he shapeshifted. And apparently he was pretty damn brutal. So what they did was they actually put him in cement. They were actually killing him alive. So they like poured cement over him. And he actually then, through the power of God, in that moment, he found God. And with that, he broke through that cement and survived. But a lot of that he talks about, that sort of stuff as well, and also how the bodies, like what she was saying, was how damaged the bodies of these guys become, their joints, because they're literally shape-shifting all the time. You can imagine your human skeleton suddenly now becoming this, what the hell this thing is looking like, whatever, half man, half wolf. I mean, that takes its toll on you, right? So, I mean, definitely, I can't imagine that your lifespan would be very long after experiencing that type of shape-shifting.
Yeah, that's the argument that we get a lot, or I get with people that, I talk about dogmen and werewolves a good bit. And I go out and do dogman investigations. I guess you could say werewolves too. I mean, but it's mostly dogman investigations. I go out in the middle of big forest and hike in hopes of finding dogmen. I know it sounds crazy, but anyways, people, the argument is like, well, they're all dogmen, or how could a human ever transform. It's not humanly possible to transform your body and to have your bones change and morph and things like that. Well, I mean, I've seen some weird stuff, Shanti. Okay. I've
Me
seen some
too.
weird stuff. Why wouldn't it be? Okay. You know, we talk about shapeshifters all the time. But you know, it's just like I said, it's people's perception. It's their way they've been raised or their belief systems. And there's no way that could ever happen. But I think it could. I've heard it can.
Definitely.
I've seen pictures of it. Okay. I actually have people that contact me occasionally, letting me know that they actually are werewolves. Okay. And that they watch my shows. And also, and I've actually have befriended a couple of people who I've been sent pictures of them actually shape-shifting. Okay, so not stuff that I can ever show publicly and things like
Yeah,
that, but I do
sure.
believe there is. I believe it's real. I believe it's real. Why not?
No, for sure. All you have to do is look at what happens here in Africa with that is genuine truth. What the witch doctors can do to people, they literally
Yes.
turn them into animals. So no one can tell me that's impossible. It happens.
Yeah.
I know it happens. So no one. I mean, did I see it in front of me? No, but I have spoken to several people who have had that happen and have seen that. And especially they will turn if the witch doctors don't like you and they'll I don't know what magic or whatever they use, but it's very nasty, and they'll turn you into a goat, half man, half cow. They love turning people into cows. They love it. And cats. They love turning people into cats and cows. And it's true, girl. The witch doctors don't play.
Well, I mean, oh my gosh. I've
I
actually
laugh.
I was sent a
You're
picture.
right. Those guys.
Well, we have a lot of Goatman sightings here in the United States, a lot, especially in Texas for some reason. But I was sent a picture of a Goatman, it looked like Pan. Okay, and at first glance, it was a picture off of a person's game cam, and the people sent that to me because I had remote viewed an incident that happened to someone down in, I think it was Florida. And it was a guy that I knew who had been attacked in his tent one night when he's a Bigfoot field researcher, and he and another friend of ours were out camping, and he got dragged out of his tent one night. He got attacked inside his tent by an unseen force. He didn't know what it was, and he thought he may have had an alien abduction that night, and he had me remote view the time and the place, and didn't give me the information about what happened. He just said, "Hey, this is the location." He gave me the coordinates. He said, "Can you remote view at this time?" And I did. And sure enough, one of the first things I wrote down in my session was Pan, goat, like a goat man. Okay. Rituals, black magic, and things like that. And it turned out, he said, well, he never thought of that before, but the week or so before, he had gone to a screening of a film. And unbeknownst to the audience, in that film, the person who produced it was doing rituals to summon Pan. And so the audience basically was a part of that ritual, unbeknownst to them. And he said that after he saw that film, his life started going down the drain, and his job, started getting bad, and his personal family life was getting tumultuous. And he said that it almost ruined his whole life. And then he got attacked in that tent, and he said, well, it all made sense then. And eventually that one of those, I don't think it was that location, but maybe it was another location down there. There was a trail cam picture that somebody sent me. Actually, I think that was in Alabama when that happened to him. But there's a trail cam picture, and it looked like at first glance, it looked like a feral man or something, like a man with a shirt off with kind of longer hair, like shoulder length hair. And then you looked at it a little further, and you could see that he had fur from his waist down, and it looked, he had horns on his head. So he was like a goat man. Yeah. So that's real. There's no reason for, and this is in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere. Probably weren't going to have feral people down there. I think this is in Florida, actually, where they have gators and stuff. I don't think there's going to be a feral man living out on these people's private property. But anyways, I just thought I'd mention that because these things are real. Okay. They're very real. Not everybody
Absolutely.
gets to see them, though.
Absolutely. It also,
Yeah.
you know, while you're speaking, I'm kind of thinking again, just thinking about the kids and, you know, Peter Pan, the Pied Piper with the kids,
Yeah. Green. He's green.
but also always music.
There. Yeah, that's right. Sound
Always
frequencies.
music.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Music
something,
opens portals. Sound tones and sound
yes,
frequencies open portals. There's a big debate. Okay, and I don't really want to mess with it, but somebody had mentioned, a friend of mine actually who's been on my show had mentioned people utilizing the shofar out in the field to blow the shofar, and you have to hit a certain note, and all these cryptids show up. I'm talking about Dogman and Bigfoot and whatever else is out there. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And you just look, Jessica, how many videos there are. Now, I play the Tibetan singing bowls
Mm-hmm.
and I heal with them. And I know how powerful at healing with animals is. I've taken lots of, when I've worked with the animals in rehabilitation, oh boy, I work with them. Then
Oh,
you
yeah.
see also how these guys go to like these elephant sanctuaries, play the piano in Thailand, and this entire herd of elephants stood around and listened to him play. You hear these, you watch these guys playing for animals. Animals will just come out of nowhere and listen to the music, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
music is such a look at the music industry and how huge it is. Maths and music,
Yeah.
they're synonymous. Would you believe maths and music are synonymous? It's like every number has a vibration and a sound as well. All of your organs have vibrations and sound. Your entire body, right? So it's like for me, again, we've spoken about this before about obviously the lure of music, right? But again, when we're looking at these kids, I'm wondering, would music at all be involved in their disappearance, right? When
They
we're
said
thinking of all,
bells. They were chasing bells. Remember?
no
Yeah, they were
way.
chasing the sound of bells. That's what led them to leave the flock. Is that they went exploring, and then they started hearing bells, so they went towards the bell sound in the cave. I think she said they were in a cave. Yeah, they went into a cave and they listened to the sound of bells and church bells. And what all has been lost? You know, here in the U.S., all the bells were buried, cracked and buried, and destroyed around definitely the World War II era. Okay, but yeah, the bells have been destroyed. Civil War era, I guess. I think it was Civil War actually. Mm-hmm. 1800s.
Wow. Makes a lot of sense. And also, you know, the lure of the kids,
Mm-hmm.
how they, it makes me wonder as well, thinking about um, the Gregorian chant. Sorry, I'm just looking here. And just thinking about if these kids that are disappearing from these parks and things as well, it's not just kids though, but
Mm-hmm.
people. I mean, they must be using some type of music or sound or something as well. There's got to be some type of frequencies relating to music involved with the stuff. That's just coming through big
There
for me
could
right
be.
now.
There could be.
Yeah.
There's actually a video, you can find it on YouTube, and it's a gentleman out in the woods doing Tibetan. Is it Tibetan or no, Mongolian throat singing?
Wow.
Mongolian throat singing, and he starts doing his throat singing, which it resonates throughout the entire area. And as he's doing it, he has his camera pointed at his face, but you can see behind him, behind his shoulder, and all these creatures start lurking up into the tree line to watch him. And it looks as though he's got Bigfoots and pale crawlers and all sorts of weird stuff. It is really creepy. I personally would have had a heyday out there. I would have loved it. Okay, but it may not be. I'm gonna say it's not safe. It ain't safe. Okay, for if you're gonna do stuff like that, you gotta be prepared for what's gonna come out there and be attracted to you. You know, sometimes one time, I'm just gonna say one time, one of the guys on my team brought a didgeridoo out into the field and played that didgeridoo. And I tell you what, it got the attention of a lot of
I
critters out there.
believe. I love the didge.
Yes.
I love it.
Me too.
You know, we definitely, you know, you work with sound with the bells and then you use a didgeridoo. It's amazing. And it definitely opens portals, and it definitely does. You can feel it. I can feel it. But you've got to close them again afterwards. That's the thing. You've got to, if you're going to open a portal using sound, you've got to be aware that certain frequencies, and especially the higher the tones as well, but it's actually not really just one. There's obviously a whole range of sound and frequencies, but the higher the ones, you know, the higher the tones, usually those are the more powerful ones. But if you're going to open it, then you must close it. You've got to know how to close it. You've got to know how to close it. Exactly.
That's the problem. And so that's why when the word got out, it was kind of a secret. I'm going to say like a little secret. And it was, I'm not going to say like hidden knowledge by someone, right? There, you know, some of the guys I know, they'll go out there and do experimentation with, you know, using sound frequencies to, you know, try to summon cryptids and things like that. My team, we don't really get out there and do it that much. Not the majority of my teams. One team, they go out there and do the CE5 and stuff like that, but that's to bring in UFOs, and we've done that before. I'm not a huge fan of that, by the way. But they knew about the show. Let's just say the shofar, and they were trying to kind of keep it under wraps because they knew that as soon as the public got that knowledge, and, you know, every person that wanted to go see, you know, just to go see a dog man was going to go up to places like the LBL, for instance, the Land Between the Lakes in Kentucky and Tennessee, and go taking a shofar and going and blowing it and open a portal, and God forbid, you know, all sorts of, you know, maybe even demonic stuff came out of it, out of portals and stuff. And it's people that it gets into, I want to say, the wrong hands, kind of people that don't really know what they're doing.
Exactly.
Just to go out there and then leaving it. And then you know, that's a place where people go take their families to go camping, children. And,
exactly.
I'm not a fan of that. I don't think that's a good idea for people to go out there doing things like that. If they don't know how to shut it down, they shouldn't do it. You know, do it on your own property or something if you're going to do it.
Yeah.
So
no, I agree. Yeah, I agree. And especially if you're hanging out in their turf, you know, if you're going out into their turf, and this is true, the frequency used for levitation as well. It's about to say that. Because when you, and it's not just the sound, it's your, that connects with your frequency and your vibration, and a couple of other things as well.
Yeah, if we had brought the bells back, imagine we'd run all the bad politicians out of the city halls.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
And that's true, because I'll tell you, when I work with people and we're using the Tibetan bells, and if they've got any type of entity or attachment, I want to tell you, they they fly, they dissolve, they disappear the minute you bring in those sounds. But some of them are clever. And then I've got to bring in the very low sounds, and you get them, and then you take it higher and higher, and then you draw it out the body. That's how you work with the sound. It's amazing. They do not like the vibration. They do not. My Tibetan bowls, that is, I tell you, I carry those wherever I go traveling for healing. They get packed in my little hand luggage. I'm allowed 8 kilograms hand luggage. Okay. They weigh 15 kilograms. And I think maybe twice I've had to weigh it. Right. So I always get away with it. And it's like a surgeon's doctor's case, right? Those are my healing tools. I'll tell you what, it is phenomenal when you start, but you have to know how. You know, when I was starting to teach my students how to do it, I got them to do it on me. And I realized very quickly that there's certain people that have a way with being able to work with sound. Not everyone has that. Everyone can play a bowl, right? But there's a certain art to creating a frequency that has an energy that does something constructive, if that makes sense at all to you. Not everyone has that ability. And that's why I say people can go there and clang, clang, clang. They can open a very low vibrating portal, but then you got to know how to close it. Otherwise, you've created a whole lot of nonsense energetically. Yeah.
Actually, that's the good thing about the whole shofar deal, is that there's a particular note that has not been disclosed. Okay, that one of my buddies who's kind of, I don't want to say he's the originator of all that, because he was talking to some friends about it, and then the friends kind of took it and ran with it and went public with it. And so, yeah, not to give his business away, and I'm not going to tell you who it is. Okay. But he said, luckily, he and I've had plenty of conversations about it. He said, well, luckily they don't know the note to hit. Okay. Apparently there's like certain notes that you hit. Okay. Certain chords or whatever. And so as long as, you can't do maximum damage if you don't know those chords. Okay. So that's a good thing, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I agree. Yeah. So, we were talking about yoga the other day. Thank you, Dan. Yoga is the gateway to inner freedom. Absolutely. It was one of the shows you also did. Remember when you were doing some remote viewing and you kept picking up yoga? And it really is. It's because what we must realize, your body is actually the portal that you need to go into.
Yes.
That is it. And it's like, because now, when we go back to the Himalayan masters, right, who were supposedly the keepers of the vril, they never kept the vril. They simply understood that your breath is the one thing that links you to God, that keeps you alive, that by using your breath in a certain way, and especially that's why they observed the yogis, right, and the Tai Chi masters, because the yogis use their breath in a way that heightened their consciousness, as well as being celibate. That's why many of the proper yogis are celibate. And what that does, it opens your inner vibration, because in this again, now when we talk about 144,000, I'm going to burst a lot of people's bubbles here. And yes, I know Shanti speaking rubbish. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She doesn't know her Bible, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell you, when you look at the yoga, you have 72,000, okay, Ida and Pingala, okay, masculine, feminine aspect of the body. Ida has 72,000 meridians. So does Pingala. Together, what do they make? 144,000. And when you've balanced both aspects of your body, the yin yang, masculine, feminine, you come into full balance, and then your body vibrates on 144,000 balancing meridians in the body. And that's when you transcend. That's when you've understood that yoga through breathing is the inner gateway to love. Yoga is all about love, nothing else. Nothing about anything else other than love. So when you've understood that full balance, you've done all the transmutation between love and fear over how many thousands of years we've been caught up in the matrix, right? Then you find the perfect balance when Ida and Pingala meet, masculine, feminine meet in you, and then you have that perfect balance, and your frequency transcends. And that's when you don't leave the earth, you stay on earth, but you just are not connected with a lower shit anymore. It doesn't even see you. Mm-hmm. It doesn't see you. You're too bright for it. That's it.
You blind it.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's why they demonize yoga, people.
Exactly.
They will give you all sorts of crap and tell you this, that, and the next thing, and it's this, and when you're looking at Shiva and what have you, when you understand the opposite of Shiva, Shiva really is explaining the human entrapment, because we are all entrapped with these things. And when you transcend that entrapment, you then find the balance, and then you're no longer entrapped in the lower realms. You've then transcended your frequency. And that's what Jesus was talking about, the resurrection. You resurrect your consciousness. and your body follows suit. That's it. That's it.
Wow. I love that. You heard it here first. Secret knowledge, y'all. It's not so secret anymore.
Not so secret anymore. But the thing is, a lot of people hate hearing this because it completely knocks their entire belief system off center.
It does.
And when we've had an entire belief system for so long that's been 11 year. Nice, I like it. I'm 17-11 year. And when we've had our belief system that's been entrenched into our psyche for so long, it's like it's in your DNA. Your mothers, fathers, uncles, grannies, aunties, uncles, grandchildren, everyone has it. It's like, right? I'm like, oh, get me out of there. I just want to get out of there. It's like, oh, no, I don't want any of my family diseases. I have my own DNA. I have my own consciousness. I have the ability to heal my own body because I'm created from the love of God. And when I go back to that, boom, everything dissolves.
Yeah.
And we just find that place of what the yogis call nirvana or bliss, when you're in full alignment. And that's when the lotus flower, which has also been demonized, they talk about the 1,000-petal lotus on your crown. It simply means you've understood, you've unfolded, and you've understood full consciousness, which is the altruistic state. You move beyond extremes. You've now moved into altruism, where you see things as God sees things. And you don't judge people for the evils that they do. You understand they're exactly where they're meant to be. And through love, you can change them. You help them. That's it.
Yes. That's when you quit reacting to all the BS and trolls and stuff. Okay. From a layman's terms. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can imagine I'm not going to have a lot of we're not very popular for putting this show out. Sorry, Jessica.
Oh, don't apologize. Please don't apologize. I love it. I love it. I mean, this is a higher type of knowledge. Okay, it is.
Exactly. And look at this. I love it. The desolate one. The dance of Shiva, distraction and creation. Exactly, because out of distraction, we create, we recreate, transform. Energy can never be created or destroyed, only ever transferred or transformed. So no matter how much you try and deny your shadow self and the shitty parts of your nature, we all have them. When you bring them out, you start doing the dance of destruction, which then creates the rebirth in you. You understand that destructive part of you was so necessary.
Oh, I am a walking testament to that, Shanti. I am a literal walking testament. I think a lot of us are. Being destroyed, having an understanding that I had to go through that to be destroyed, to reinvent myself, to find my true self, to break away from all of the constructs, these earthly constructs, and having to relearn everything and start from scratch. And I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be here talking to you right now, Shanti, if I had not gone through that already, several times.
Right. And we
definitely through it again, I'm sure.
we definitely have a few dark nights of the soul in life, right? I've definitely been through a few of mine, but I've chosen to heal from them. I've chosen to see the purpose. I've chosen to see it. And that came with my fiance being killed in a hijacking. In that moment, I knew you either die, you die in your spirit, right? You become destructive, you become angry, you become a prune, or you use that experience that enables you to thrive. And living the gift of death is a beautiful thing, because death is merely transformation if you choose to see it that way, right? It's not a physical thing all the time. It's a spiritual thing. When the old part of you dies, you resurrect into a newer, healthier, stronger version of yourself, an expanded version of yourself. It doesn't mean you deny who you were. You could be the worst prisoner that ever hit this planet, But you come here and you've learned through your experience. What did you learn in prison? What can you teach us from your experience? Now you know you're using that pain and you're turning it into purpose. That's what we had to do. Turn our pain into purpose. And when we do that, the world's your oyster. You're right. You either grow or descend. Right?
That's right.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we all have free will. And we all have that choice. It's up to us what we do with that.
Exactly. Yeah. Jessica, as always, it's been fantastic.
Yeah. It's always fun. It's always fun, and to think about how we started off with the children of Woolpit. I tell you what.
And look at the color of my mug. I didn't even realize. Yeah. And look at my pants.
Are you green?
Green.
Well, I don't have on green today. I thought about wearing green today, but I wear green every day. So I wear blue.
So funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think those children did come through a portal though. That was in my remote viewing data. Definitely a portal, and I was even seeing like those navigational stars, like that are on a compass, which I've talked about several times, where sometimes those stars are actually in the front of like the Hilton hotels and places where they have jump rooms to other planets and to other dimensions and things. And so I was seeing those in my data. That was actually a good bit of it. They definitely came through some sort of a portal, but I think all these connections we made today are just fantastic. And they connect the dots to so many other things that I explore and that I've been looking into lately. And especially in the cryptid world and in the field when I'm out there, we always had to also look for, yesterday I did a show on the shaman's portal in Oklahoma. Here in the United States, there's a place called the Shaman's Portal, and since the 1500s, it's been documented that people have been going missing out of that area. It's like sand dunes. They've made it into a state park, and people have been going missing since a Spanish explorer came over and a bunch of his men disappeared into the sand dunes. And they said that there was green and blue lightning. Speaking of green and blue, green and blue lightning, and we got in a conversation yesterday about how common that is for when people go missing. They say, "Oh, and you've got green and blue here." I didn't even see that comment from Dennis.
I was going to say, you haven't got the green.
I had to look down. Okay. But green and blue lightning is okay. So that would
We're
actually.
Magic. We're magic.
We're magic. We're magic. We know what we're doing.
I love it. Thank you, Dennis. You made my day.
But isn't that wild that like green and blue is often seen, like green and blue lightning is seen whenever a portal is opening or even when people go missing.
Have we opened a portal today? Have we opened a portal today? I think so. We are, most definitely.
Yes, the audience has been sucked into this portal today. I'm
loving the audience. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I love that.
It's also the upper chakras as well, right? The higher chakras.
Heart chakra. Heart chakra is green, throat chakra is blue.
Okay.
Heart chakra is green and pink. So you
You're
can.
Just missing purple. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, indigo and then the violet. And silver and white. It's all the awesome colors at the top. Everything, the rainbow colors.
All my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
Yeah. Absolutely is. And speaking about yoga, I want to just say thank you so much to all my beautiful yogis that joined us on the 3-week yoga challenge this past week. And you can hear I'm still detoxing. We did 3 weeks, 7 days of 36 Surya Namaskar, 7 days of 72 Surya Namaskar, and 7 days of 108 Surya Namaskar. Now, 108, obviously, that's the yogic, and that opens the inner gate, right? It's the passage opens the inner gate, the heavenly gate, we call it, because heaven is within you. And it was amazing. And then we did a 3-day water fast after that. I got to tell you, it was phenomenal. And, I always say yoga is not about the postures, because all you're doing is sun salutations, repeating. And with all that breathing, stretching, twisting, boy, is your body detoxing, are all your old hidden emotions coming up. And it was absolutely beautiful because, it's like some of them finished, one lady finished 2 days later. Others like broke up the challenge and they did it. I mean, I had a yoga buddy, Simona, in Spain, and she and I were doing it. There were days I said I was so tired I could not get up. Simona, had it not been for you, but boy, you breathe through it, and it is absolutely phenomenal. That's the yoga. Yoga is breaking through your limitations in a beautiful, gentle, loving way towards yourself. That's what yoga is. You don't hurt yourself. You don't harm yourself. You take yourself to the edge, because what happens on the mat, in other words, as you're gathering confidence in what you're doing on the mat in your practice, so you then take that same confidence, and so it carries on in your everyday life in the world, how you conduct yourself in the world as well. So it's just beautiful. It's about just understanding. It's an inner journey. It's breaking through your own limitations, and it gets you closer to God every step you take.
I love that, because we are limitless beings, 100%, and we're more than these physical bodies too, and that's part of the yoga journey, I would assume. And just knowing we are more than these bodies, but just to know what you can push your body to do is limitless. How fantastic is that? I love it.
But I love that because, in your body, on this third dimension, you can't express your spirit without having a body. You can't grow in spirit without your body. So your body is the most precious gem you're going to possess. Your body contains 30 trillion cells. One cell contains enough information to write 1,000 books of 600 pages each. So as we go take the inner journey, so the cells open up and explore more of who you are and where you've been and where you've come from and who you are. And it just, you become more, when I say God-like, no, not like the other way. I'm talking about in love with God. As Rumi says, I searched for God and I found only myself. I searched for myself and I found only God. So we are created from God. We are created from love. And when we treat ourselves with love, God glorifies in that. And we receive blessings for that.
Yeah. I'm made of stardust. I'm pretty sure.
Which is made from love.
Yeah, fairy dust and stardust. Okay.
Girl, that's awesome. Yeah, I also teach. I don't teach Kundalini. I teach Hatha and Yin as well. Awesome. Yay. I will be teaching some yoga classes, by the way, guys. So come hang out with Shanti. If one of my mods can just pop the link in the chat, if you don't mind. Just the Telegram group where we hang out, and I'm going to be doing some hanging out there, and I'm going to be teaching 2 classes a week. One of them will be a yin for the hangouters, and we'll be doing our little flash. You guys don't even know that yet. We'll be doing our flash celebrations every once in a while. I'll say, okay, guys, who's up to do some this week? Not the whole thing, don't worry. We'll do like 3 days, 3 days, 3 days, and a 1-day dry fast, stuff like that. So, yeah, my head's going.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, we have a great time there. Anyway, Jessica, I'd love to have you there, girl on a gong. So come and join us. It'll be so fun. And Jessica, anything you doing? Where are you this week? Who can see you? Where can we see you?
Well, you guys, everybody can find me over on my YouTube channel. It's the Cryptid Huntress. And I have a website, thecryptidhuntress.com, where all my social media links and everything are over there, and all my archive shows. Yeah, I've got shows all week. I've got another show tomorrow, and then one on Thursday and one on Saturday. And I'll also be on Super Soldier Talk tonight with James Rink and Jimmy Payne. And I've got a couple more podcasts to do today, actually. This is my day off. Okay, so this is the day I do. I've got a bunch of shows lined up on other people's channels and stuff. So y'all see me online today. If y'all just go to YouTube, I'll be all over it tonight.
Well, I'm very happy that you started with us.
Oh yeah, started my morning off right. Yes, thank you for having me today. It's always fun hanging out with you, Shanti.
It's great hanging out with you too, Han. And I look forward to seeing you the first Tuesday of next. It's April Fool today.
Oh
Wow.
we should have done a big old joke today, and I didn't even think about it.
And neither did I, but I'm just thinking we opened the portal.
We did. Hey, yes, we did. We sucked the whole audience into a portal today.
Yeah, we've closed it, don't worry, and you all like still fizzing from it, so we're good.
April Fools. No, I'm just kidding. Oh my
Bill and
God.
Nicole, thank you so much for your super sticker. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Maureen. That's so sweet.
Yeah, it absolutely is, Maureen. Appreciate you
And
guys
Gus.
very much. And Gus, I'm always seeing Gus on TV. Listen to me, Facebook.
He's so adorable.
And that's wonderful. Yeah. Okay, guys, take care. God bless you all. And I'll see you. Gosh, I got a busy week this week. Today's Tuesday, Wednesday with Jesse Double Show, Thursday Dennis, Friday Joanne Breeze and Caleb Jade. And yes, and then Saturday, Jerry Marzinski. And I'm having him on YouTube this time. And then Sunday, Olav Zipser, my friend Olav, is coming on Sunday. He's the world champion skydiver. Guys, do you know what he did? Do you know what Olav did? Hear this.
What did he do?
Him, 30 years ago, he jumped from the stratosphere in Russia, right?
Okay.
47,000 feet without a spacesuit. They skydived.
Wow.
They still hold that record. Now you want to know that this is the guy. He's amazing. He is the world champion skydiver. He started free fly, the sports flying, a mind like you cannot imagine. So I spent 3.5 years traveling with him in Thailand. An incredible human being, very quiet, this German, but wow, what an art he has. So come and hang out with us on Sunday, 12 o'clock my time. I know you Americans might. That's not on the schedule, but we will put it up. And then, of course, Sunday as well. After that, Jesse with the Patreon book club. Okay, guys. Now I really will say goodbye. All right. God bless. Take care. Mwah.